Welcome to True Tales from the Other Side. If you have a true encounter with the unexplained that you want to share, contact us through the email address below. Enjoy.
I'd always wanted to go to Miami. The sun, the Art Deco buildings, the nightlife, it was all so appealing. When my friends and I finally planned a trip, I had a list of places I wanted to see: South Beach, Little Havana, and a few of the famous shopping streets. One of the spots on my list was Lincoln Road, a historic pedestrian mall with old-timey charm, trendy shops, and great restaurants. I imagined myself walking in and out of boutiques, my arms full of shopping bags. But I never imagined what would actually happen on that afternoon. It was our third day in Miami, and my friends had all planned to hit the beach early. But I had other plans. I wanted to spend the morning exploring Lincoln Road and grabbing some vintage-inspired items to bring back home. The day was a scorcher, with that thick, sticky heat that clings to your skin, and the streets were buzzing with people. As I strolled through, I noticed a little boutique on the corner. The exterior was pastel pink, with an old-fashioned neon sign that said Lou's Place Est 1952. It looked like a charming hole in the wall shop that could be hiding a treasure trove of unique items. Drawn in by a sense of curiosity, I crossed the street and stepped inside. As soon as I walked in, the air felt different. Cooler, yes, but something else. It was quiet, like the outside noise had suddenly been muffled. The smell was unique to old leather perfume and a faint trace of cigar smoke. There were no other customers around, and the shopkeeper, a woman who looked to be in her fifties with perfectly curled hair and cat-eye glasses, smiled at me. I couldn't quite place it, but something about her felt off. "Hello, miss," she greeted, her voice smooth and somewhat formal. "Hi," I replied, feeling a little self-conscious. I scanned the store, seeing rows of handbags, gloves, and hats in that classic 50s style. "Do you specialize in vintage?" She gave me a curious look. "Everything here is new, dear. Fresh off the shelves. You're welcome to try anything on," she added, gesturing to the racks. I tried to brush off her comment. After all, maybe she just meant it was new for the time period it was modeled after. I began browsing through a row of dresses, each one more beautiful than the last. They were stunning, tailored with that structured 50s silhouette, made of rich fabrics with delicate details. I tried one on, a classic polka dot dress with a fitted waist. I admired myself in the mirror, half jokingly wondering if I'd stepped out of a time machine. When I went to ask the shopkeeper about the price, she smiled warmly. "That one's a bargain at $6.50, she said. I froze. "I'm sorry, did you say $6.50? "Yes, a steel right." She chuckled like she'd just shared an inside joke. Suddenly the room felt smaller, closer. My heart started to race, and I felt like I'd fallen into some kind of elaborate prank. I could see the street outside through the store window, but something looked different. The cars parked along the curb weren't like the usual Teslas, Audis, or Subarus I'd seen all over Miami. These were huge, with round fenders and chrome, everywhere old-fashioned cars you'd only see in classic movies. And instead of the throngs of people in swimsuits or bright vacation attire, there were men in suits and women in modest dresses with hats and gloves. A few even carried little bags with their initials embroidered on them. I took a few shaky steps toward the door, fighting the disorientation swirling in my mind. This had to be some kind of immersive, themed experience, right? I mean, Miami was known for weird art installations. Maybe this was just an elaborate tourist trap. But as I stepped outside, the hot Florida sun hit me, though it wasn't quite as intense as before. The whole atmosphere had shifted. People passed me on the sidewalk, glancing at me like I was the one out of place. I looked down and realized I was still wearing the polka dot dress from the shop, tags and all. Panicked, I ducked back into the store. I think I need to pay for this," I stammered, reaching into my purse. but all I could find were my credit cards, no cash. The shopkeeper seemed unbothered, watching me with an amused expression. "Don't worry, darling, you look right at home." Her words sent a chill down my spine. I realized that every detail around me, from the people's clothes to the faded, sun-baked signs, was unmistakably real. Real in a way that I couldn't explain. Feeling the weight of this strange reality pressing in on me, I rushed down the street, hoping I'd eventually see a familiar landmark or someone who looked like they didn't belong in the mid-20th century. As I walked, I overheard a conversation between two women on the corner. "I hear they're building another big motel down on Collins Avenue," one of them said with excitement. "The Fontainebleau should open soon, can you imagine?" Fontainebleau. That was a historic hotel famous in Miami. For what felt like hours I wandered the streets, trying to stay calm and figure out a plan. I didn't even have my phone, why would I? There were no cell towers to connect to here, and any way to reach out for help seemed beyond my reach. As the day wore on, I eventually returned to the boutique, hoping that maybe going back inside would somehow pull me back to my time. The shopkeeper was still there, straightening a display of scarves. She looked up when I entered and smiled knowingly. "Enjoying your visit?" she asked, her eyes twinkling. My mouth was dry as I answered, "I don't know how I got here." She nodded as if she understood. Sometimes things aren't meant to be understood, only experienced, but you'll find your way back. Without knowing why, I felt a strange trust in her words, like she knew more than she let on. I returned the dress, thanked her, and as I stepped out, the sun seemed to flicker like I'd just blinked, and the thick humid air returned with full force. The street looked different again, filled with tourists and modern cars. I was back. Disoriented, I glanced around, catching my reflection in a store window. My face was flushed, hair slightly wild. I looked down at my wrist, and the watch I'd been wearing was now inexplicably set an hour behind, the hands ticking slowly forward as if catching up to the present. My heart raced with a mix of relief and disbelief. Had I really just experienced a time slip? Later that night I told my friends the story, but they just laughed, chalking it up to heat stroke or exhaustion. But I knew what I'd experienced. Sometimes, when I see an old photo of Miami or a 1950s fashion, and it all rushes back with crystal clarity, the smell of old leather, the chill in the air, the twinkle in the shopkeeper's eyes. They say Miami is a city built on secrets and stories. And for me, one of those stories is mine alone, left drifting somewhere between the past and the present.
Thanks for listening. Remember to like and subscribe so you don't miss the next set of tales from the other side. Submit your story to the email below. And remember, nothing is what it seems.